different adventures and tragedy that have occurred in the world of Middle-earth are stories known by millions of dedicated fans. Those stories, such as Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, or The Silmarillion, would not be here if it was not for John Ronald Reuel Tolkien. Tolkien single-handedly created the stories that would affect the lives of so many children and adults alike. But there was another part of J.R.R. that was seen within his work. That was his Christianity and relationship with Jesus Christ. How was J.R.R. Tolkien able to create stories that felt giant and epic while still giving the reader messages and lessons of morality and hope? Outside of being a fantasy writer, J.R.R. was also a professor and theologian. He was someone who involved Christianity in his studies while being in a very anti-Christian area of academia. This included some of his work being used so he could speak on the topic of Christianity. An article written on Tolkien states, Tolkien was able to bring his Christianity to bear in many aspects of his professional work as an English philologist. He argued that non-Christian mythology was an attempt at expressing some of God's truth. This becomes important when trying to understand his views concerning the original meeting of Christianity in the non-Christian European North. He believed that the Christianity which the first English converts encountered was neither fatalistic nor dualistic. Tolkien used his work to explain his beliefs, and he was able to create his argument in a format that was palatable and easy to understand for those in his area of work. This can help prove his validity as a Christian apologist and theologian. J.R.R. also used myth as a talking point in not only his sections of expertise, but also for the regular public. The ideas within a second excerpt from the same article show us that what Tolkien did is show how non-Christian mythology was merely God expressing himself through the minds of poets, using images of their mythopia to reveal fragments of his eternal truth. What was most incredible was that the same was true for Christianity, with the exception that the poet in this instance was God, and God used as images real individuals in real history. His main idea and feelings towards the modern church within his own letters that he wrote states that, I find myself in sympathy with those developments that are strictly ecumenical, that are concerned with other groups or churches that call themselves Christian. We have prayed endlessly for Christian reunion, but it is difficult to see, if one reflects, how that could possibly begin to come about except as it has, with all its inevitable minor absurdities. Tolkien was able to use his credibility in the Christian community to show people that the world was being allowed to get a foothold in the church. All of J.R.R. Tolkien's works, outside of the realm of fantasy and fiction, help show people that working on stories that do not take place in our world does not mean that the person who wrote them cannot make an impact outside of their specific story. The fantasy trilogy The Lord of the Rings and the standalone novel The Hobbit are both littered with messages of morality and Christ-like allegory. The first one shows up in Tolkien's choice of including free will into his storytelling. This idea is expounded upon in the book J.R.R. Tolkien, Myth, Morality, and Religion. The book states that, thus, Fëanor acts out to some extent the role of Adam, who brought evil into the world by disobedience, whereas Frodo, in a limited way, acts out the role of Christ, defeating evil by obedience and self-sacrifice. Underlying these two stories is a Christian view of what free will is and how it should be used. On this view, persons, such as hobbits, humans, dwarves, elves, and ents are genuinely free, able to disobey Ilúvatar and the Valar. However, disobedience always has its cost. Unhappiness for the one who disobeys and for others. Choices are not irrevocable. Gollum and Saruman and Denethor are offered chances to repent and refuse, whereas Galadriel, Boromir, and Theoden all at some point repent and change. The characters in this acclaimed fantasy series can be used to draw connections and parallels with the Christian Bible and the historical figures seen throughout Myth, Morality, and Religion. It states that, to see how Tolkien develops this theme, consider his first book, The Hobbit. At the beginning, Bilbo Baggins is a somewhat self-important little fellow, set in his ways and suspicious of anything outside of his own limited sphere. He is bullied into going on an adventure with a band of dwarves by Gandalf the Wizard, but even in this first encounter, he shows beginnings of courage. After being terrified by talk of death and dragons, he has a fainting fit, but stung by the contempt shown by the dwarves who have come to enlist his help on their quest, he offers to go along with them, even though he thinks that they might have made a mistake in coming to him. In Middle-earth, the hobbits live off by themselves, and no one else in the area really cares about the hobbits. Yet Bilbo helped kill a dragon, and his heir, Frodo, saved all of Middle-earth from the evil that held a grip over everyone. This example helps solidify the idea and teaching that God can use anyone for a purpose to help bring glory to him.